3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 32.
Hold on, no. 33 in it?
Nope.
Mr. Chow, what was the last one called?
God, you're right. You're right.
Fantastic. You see, I'll keep the ship rolling in, young, and don't you worry, I'll keep the harbour at strength.
You're right.
There you go. Episode 33, kids.
33, and we've actually got a couple of interviews coming up. The first one is with Janice Thompson from the People's Bike TT team. Really interesting.
The People's Bike, isn't it? The People's Bike.
That's the one.
Sounds like a Roman leader should be power in the front of that, isn't it? You know, got the robe on. The People's Bike, damn it. Sorry, continue, Chrissy, with your lovely introduction.
And we're also joined by Davey Todd, obviously after getting the factory Honda ride for next year, and it was nice to sort of have a privateer team and a sort of a factory aspect as well. So
definitely. And
with Davey I think they stopped off in a car. Was also joined by his mate Brad Ward, he's originally from York, but he's living out in California, and he's racing over in the MotoAmerica series over there.
Well, it was the AMA, wasn't it? Superbike Championship. Now, I think we obviously interrupted them putting suntan lotion on each other. Obviously, you know, that's a full-time thing for the pair of them. They've got big hands, Yorkshire people, big hands. It's a lot of lotion. You got to spread it, not blotch it, Chrissy. I'm talking to you, mate. You got to spread it, mate. You got to spread it like love. You got to spread it.
And really pleased to have our loyal sponsor back on. So we've got Incontango Training,
and you'll love that, won't he? Spread it. There you are.
A lead in risk, finance and treasury consultancy, but more importantly, bike racing fans. So massive thank you to John, and you're in with a treat, ladies and gentlemen. Later on in this podcast, with last episode, it was the new jingle. That was a one-off.
We're going to put a cap on it now, right? And we're not doing that again.
We've got a Brexit analogy to remember the name of the sponsor. But
hold on,
I won't spoil it.
Right. There's no we in this, right? This is all you, mate, right? I'm just the idiot on the corner of the bench, mind. So, right, your little thing is your little thing.
So keep it political. Obviously, it's the election day today. We're recording on Thursday the 12th. So Thursday the 12th of December. And we're actually having a fantastic month this month on the downloads. I think we're on for a PB. We had 8,300 last month in November, and already we've hit the 5,000 mark so far in December. So really getting some traction on the old podcast. So massive thanks to everyone who's spreading the word and telling friends, sharing it about. We really appreciate all the support.
And obviously, thank you to our sponsors. Now, Incontango Training, even I'm getting better at that. Incontango Training is sponsoring the People's Bike, who's our guest.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so that was the link of how we got them on the podcast, and obviously credit to John for obviously he's helping our podcast, and then he's helping people go racing as well. So spot on.
Fair play to him.
And I tell you what, just before we get on to both the interviews, have you had obviously we recorded the podcast this time last week. Much happened in the week? Have you got any crack?
Right, put it this way, right? I thought road racing was dangerous. Try going to work for a living. Right, I kid you not, right? I nearly died. I'm not being melodramatic here, one bit whatsoever. I'm not talking about fake tits, blonde hair, I broke a nail. I nearly died.
Is this with your new chainsaw that you were bragging about last week?
No, not wrong with the chainsaw whatsoever. It was the nugget holding it, right? Anyway, absolutely bleaching down with snow. Darkest night, walking through the ride. I'm walking up with me saw in my hand, and I've got me headphones on. Now, obviously, my ear defenders have got radios built in. So anyway, I'm singing along Christmas songs, which I hate, by the way, but they're just so damn catchy. So anyway, I'm singing Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You, and suddenly, behold, this is a dark hole that I didn't see. I kid you not, mate, straight up to me tits. Honestly, bearing in mind, I'm in the wood a mile from the nearest worker who's in a machine. I must be half a mile away from my vehicle. Now, on woodland sites, sickle spruce sites tend to grow in dead peaty soil. And obviously, with the amount of rain and the snow and everything that we've had recently, the sites have become saturated. Now, what we get is bog mats. They're made out of branches. We call them brash mats. Mm. So anyway, you have to step off them to get walking through. And when I've been walking through, I thought, I'm going to break my neck walking on this. So I stepped off the bog mat. I'm walking along the ride, and honestly, I just went through, and I didn't touch the bottom, straight up. Now, the only thing that stopped us was actually my chainsaw. I've got a 35-inch bar on it, and like the motor's probably around about another 45 inches. Now, the sheer actual ground coverage on it, you know, the lateral ground surface area, actually stopped me sinking to my neck.
Yeah, it's like a booby trap, like a natural booby trap in the woods.
Honestly, I tell you what, mate, just straight into the frozen puddle, man.
So was that like a full submersion of an ice bath?
On it, but the mad thing is, mate, right? It was just like, because obviously the side of the brush mat, I was being able to grab like an old root plate, and I literally dragged myself out, sitting on the side, absolutely, I was shaking like a shitting dog, going, you know, I'm thinking, imagine if I didn't have my saw, absolutely freezing. I had to walk the rest of the game. My mobile was in my backpack, so I couldn't get to that. I was sunk, didn't touch the bottom, and the saw stopped us. And I got back into my van, like no one was a wiser. I was in the middle of an MOD base, in the middle of absolutely nowhere, going, I could have died out there. And the last thing that would have gone through my mind is, all I want for Christmas is you. What a horrible way to go, Chrissy. At work, listen to Mariah Carey. How was your day?
I was going to say, there's no sort of, there's no real, on that thing about passing away, there's no real good way of passing away, is there?
No. No one makes it out alive, but listen to Mariah Carey, shitting myself would have been the only warmest thing I would have done all day, and I didn't even do that.
I've always thought myself, I would really like to pass away like my great granddad did, just like peacefully in his sleep, and not like the 30 screaming and distressed passengers on his bus at the time.
You winding me up. I don't know how to take you. Your granddad was a bus driver.
I'm just taking the piss, man.
Oh God, I can actually believe this from you, mind. So no, like that was it. That's pretty much my crack at the moment. But I tell you what, that's not nearly the most exciting thing that's happened to me.
Oh, go on.
Guess who followed me on Twitter?
John McGuinness?
No, he's too important for that.
Prince Andrew?
No. He's actually he's an avid listener to the Chase and the Racing podcast. Matt Roberts.
Hey, well,
Matt Roberts followed me, and you know what I love about him? He reminds me of a stripper I once met. I'm telling you, it was
looks.
Wait. They've got a lot in common. They're highly intelligent, right? Highly intelligent, and they're both easy on the eye. Well, let me cast my mind back. It was Munich, Germany, 2016, the year before Brexit. Before Brexit, can you imagine the world before Brexit? How simple times were. So anyway, I was out with the lads having a couple of drinks. Ended up in the local gentleman's club. Yes, and before me was this gorgeous blonde thing, and started cracking on. And I tell you what, full on Russian. Thick Russian accent, and I'm thinking, my God, she can speak better English than me. And I'm just thinking, how the hell? And anyway, we got cracking on. The romance went totally out the window at this point. We're talking about money. Right, her mate was retired at 35 from stripping. House, money, the car, the lot, you know what I mean? If you've got it, flaunt it, that's all I'm saying. But what impresses me is the fact that she could speak French, Russian, German, and what else? Some like Portuguese. That's it. And you're thinking, but that Matt Roberts is like that. But I don't think Matt Roberts takes his clothes off, mind. But you never know what happens behind closed doors.
Like into a German chicken dipper. I think you might be getting an unfollow soon.
wait, you know what I mean? It's a highly compliment thing, but it just makes me think I can barely speak English, Chrissy. It breaks me heart, man. You know what I mean? But isn't Matt Roberts this? Hold on, saying Matt Roberts, he can speak. He's writing autobiographies.
Yeah. He's so he wrote Casey Stoner's autobiography, which I've read, which was really good. He also wrote Jorge Lorenzo's autobiography, and I think he's finished now, but he's just done Shaky Burns, and he's on with a few others as well. So yeah, he's so
he can write in Spanish, busy. English, and Southerners. There you go. So he can see the man's a very intelligent fella. Very intelligent fella.
And I think we've got him signed up as well to come on the podcast.
Not anymore. I think I've just ruined that.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
So I tell you, without further ado, we'll get on to the first.
Let's cut this, Dom. Let's cut.
We'll get on to the first thing. And I tell you what, just before we go, I've just remembered something. I was in the local barbers today getting me mop chop, and the lovely
barber shop.
That's the one. The lovely Victoria has given us both a nice Christmas present, and I tell you what, mate, you're only a sunglasses away from being a full-on BSB wanker now, because we've got you some special Dapper Dan. So we've got hair sea salt, and we've got some styling dust. So
styling dust.
Do you wear any products on your hair?
If you said styling dust up here, you'd think you're dealing out cocaine, son. Styling dust. What you on about, you bleeding tit? All right, it's on the bottle and everything. Just opening up me. Apologies for opening up me early present, yeah?
No
yeah,
worries,
the guy on the bottle does look like he's on cocaine, to be fair. There's no denying that.
But, big thanks to Victoria for that. Really, really kind.
Well,
and
thank you very much, Victoria. Thank you very much.
One more thing as well, just before we go, we're on the last podcast. We're on a competition for Regina chains. Now, I must apologise because on the last podcast I was pronouncing it Regina or something, but it's Regina, and we've done a giveaway on the Twitter, so you share the post, and we've just picked one at random, and we've got at Manxie, so at Manxie on Twitter. I'll get in touch, and you can choose a chain for any bike, and we'll get it sent over thanks to Blacktop Media. So yeah, thanks to those guys. And without further ado, over to our first interview with the lovely Janice Thompson from the People's Bike. So it's great to be joined by Janice Thompson, the team manager for the peoplesbike.com. Got put in touch through our loyal sponsor, In Contango Training, who are also going to be helping the peoplesbike.com team out for this year and going forward. Janice, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Yes, all good, thanks.
Good.
And obviously, John put us in touch, and I've sort of had a look through the website, your new website, and your Facebook group and everything. It all looks like, getting ready for next year. Some exciting news has just been released. But before we get on talking about that, I presume there'll be quite a few of our listeners that maybe aren't familiar with the People's Bike team and know anything about it. So just take us back to the start and tell us how the team was formed and what it's all about.
Okay, so the team was formed in 2009 by Mark Cubban and a group of friends, basically, who basically saw a bit of a gap in the road racing team paddock, basically, and thought that they had an opportunity there to help young riders that were up and coming, newcomers specifically to the TT is how it all started, and just thought that they could just give, with the racing backgrounds that they all had themselves, just be able to give them that stability and guidance to get them through their first TT, because it's obviously quite a daunting thing to come into that paddock, have no setup, don't know where you're going every day. So it really started from that and just kind of giving it a go. And 11 years down the line, we're here and we're growing every year, basically.
11 years. Oh, fair play to you. So it hasn't sickened you off yet then?
No, I've not been there the whole time, mate, so I've not got bored yet.
Fair enough.
But no, I just kind of fell into it. We used to help Dan Hegarty. So Dan was one of the newcomers that rode for the team. So you probably know my husband, Tomo, because he was with Dan a lot. Obviously, we were his team. And Tom is now with Jamie Coward. So we've kind of come through it over the years, and the team just kind of inherited me when Tomo and Dan moved on, and they just asked me to stay and help, really. So here I am.
So who was your first rider then? Was it Daniel Hegarty?
No, so Steve Mercer was the first rider for the team back in 2009.
Right.
So back in the day, Steve was the first rider. Obviously did really well. So over the years, we've helped quite a few lads that have gone on to do, really good things, to be honest. And that's the idea of the team, that we're kind of a stepping stone to get people, into their road racing careers, and then not retain them for years and years, but just, move them on every couple of years. And that's the aim of the team, really. Well, so it started with Steve Mercer, and then, like Stephen Thompson, Dan Hegarty, Alan Bonner, Paul Jordan, Tom Whedon, we've helped quite a few, really.
All right, Paul Jordan, because he's obviously, wait, how long has he been going now? 3 years. Which bike did you put him on then? Because obviously, me being in the paddock, I've seen you put out different varieties of bikes and obviously like through different separate classes.
Yeah.
So
So we just helped Paul. He didn't run out of our awning that year because that was the year that we ran Tom as when he progressed from the Manx. So we funded Paul with some tyres and fuel and stuff, which is the aim of the team basically to do that funding. And Paul was on his 600 and on his twin at the time. So we helped him that year. The first year he was a newcomer basically. And now I can't seem to shake him off. So
I've just been having a flick through your Facebook page and your Facebook group there, and admiring some cool photos from over the years. And it's clear that you do something a little bit different in terms of the sponsorship aspect. Obviously, your fairings are very distinctive with the kind of broken up into little squares with like little selfies and little images of company logos and all kinds. Can you just sort of explain how you run that?
Yeah, so the name of the team basically says it all. So it's the people that fund the team for us. So all the money that we raise through sponsorship packages goes towards the tyre and fuel bills for the TT and now the Manx. And obviously we'll come on to other stuff that we're going to be doing. So we have different levels of sponsorship packages that people can buy. So you can pay £50 or £100. You get a goodie bag, you get some stickers, you get access to our awning. We do a little party for all our sponsors on Mad Sunday afternoon, just as a thank you. And then the photos on the bike are what people choose to put on the fairings. So we crop them all to like passport size, and we add them to the bikes during race week. And then people get to put their favourite photo on, either themselves or family members or logos or just something really stupid. And then
speaking of stupid, have you had any sensor issues? You know what I mean? Someone going, I'll tell you what, dear, right? There's £100. I want you to take a weight shot, a very complimentive weight shot, and you just had that sprayed over Paul Jordan's bike. Would that be basically what I'm trying to say is, if I could send a photo, you'd have to zoom in on it to be fair. But would you put it on? Could you put that on Paul Jordan's bike for next year?
I'd do whatever, mate. I would love it. Just, anything to give him some stick, basically, is perfect by me.
I can see you need to zoom. You'll definitely get a stick on the side of his bike. More like a twig.
Oh, God.
Just looking at the...
We didn't get a price, though, Chrissy. We didn't get a price.
We're just on your website here, looking at Matt Stevenson. We're both sponsored by the North Yorkshire Road Racing Supporters Club.
Yeah.
And he's a fellow sponsored rider. Was he riding for you last year, or...?
Yeah, so we took we ventured into the Manx a couple of years ago, so created what we call our Rising Star programme. So we initially took Stephen Parsons, or Trev as we'll call him, in 2017 as a newcomer to the Manx, because we just wanted to still encourage those younger riders coming through really, and we did it as a 3-year programme. So Trev kind of came to us in the first couple of years, and him and Matt are a bit of a double act. So we kind of just said to Matt, well, you can have some space in the awning, we'll get you some tyres. And then he kind of went out and won it. So it took us all a little bit by surprise at the Manx. And then obviously came to the TT last year because he had to step up. And then obviously had his accident, so it set him back a little bit. But that's kind of how that linked in, just with him and Trev, really. And we get a lot of help as well from the Halewood Foundation at the Manx. So they've been brilliant with the team and the support that they give. So it's really good for newcomers, really. And it's just our way of then stepping them through. It's important, we think, for them to do the Manx before they then do the TT. It just makes sense, and it gives them a really good grounding. So that's what that programme's all about.
So do the packs, obviously we're talking about people can obviously join the People's Bike,
Yep.
So does sponsorship go up each year, or is it kind of a set price for the last 11?
No, we've stepped it up a little bit. So we kind of break it into different packages now. So you can do £50 and you get your photo, your t-shirt, your goodie bag, all that stuff that I explained before. For the £100, which is the top level that we do, really, you get all of that plus the opportunity to get a start line pass just for one session. So I either do it for one practice evening session or one race. So if you pay that a little bit more, then we give a little bit more back from the team, really. And then we also do what we call our Fueled by the Fans initiative. So you can just buy a lap of fuel for £15, or you can buy a rear tyre for a bit more if you've got a bit more to spend, or you can buy a front tyre. So we just try and raise all that money, through different kind of projects within the team, really. And if people don't want to pay it out all in one go, we do monthly subscription as well, that you've probably seen on the website. So a lot of people find that, a better way to go now. So
that's awesome. And we're just on your website here, and it's great how you've sectioned off. So your front tyre's 100, rear tyre 180, fuel per lap 15, and then your rise and start package 25.
Yeah.
And it's it's great that people can clearly see what they're getting for the money. So yeah, I love that idea. And going looking forward to this year. Obviously, you've signed 2 riders already, one for the TT and one for the Manx.
Yeah.
How is there a bit of a selection process, or how are the lads chosen for the rides?
So what we tend to do is we just have I go on a bit of a stalking mission, if I'm honest, around the paddock and just have a look at who looks okay and who can ride. And it's kind of, in the past, the team has used the race office at the TT for guidance on newcomers as they were coming through. But because there are quite there's fewer and fewer newcomers now, so we think it's important to try and help those lads that have done it a couple of times or done it once or twice before, especially the TT, and that just need that bit of support. So it's important to us that they've got the right personality to fit with the team. We've obviously got Joe Public is kind of our main sponsors, so being able to just come along and chat to people all the time and put themselves out there a little bit, and we'll try and promote them and raise their profile as much as we're trying to raise the team's profile. But it's important that they've got that natural ability to ride. They're determined, they're committed to their training. They've got a good setup that we've seen them operating from in another paddock, say, and that essentially they've just got the personality that goes with our team, really. So it's kind of, we'll go out there, people will approach us. We don't do interviews and stuff, but it just depends who's the most proactive, who comes to us, who's got the best ideas, and who's committed to what they want to do, really. So that's kind of where we see it.
And so obviously you've got Joe Ackroyd for the TT and Frankie Stennett from for the Manx. Are you looking to expand the team further than that, or?
Yeah, so we're hoping to have another rider at the TT. I think it's always good to have a couple of riders there.
I'm available.
Oh yeah, okay. Then.
I'm always available. Champion.
So we're hoping to have another rider at the TT. We've not announced anything yet, but it'll be fairly obvious to people who that person will be. Not giving it away totally, but it's fairly obvious. And then, well, to me it is, but anyway. And then we're hoping as well that alongside the Manx that we've taken, obviously Frankie is a newcomer, and he'll start on that Rising Star programme, similar to what Trev and Matt have been through. We're hoping to have somebody as well and give us a presence at the Classic TT. So we're kind of, in both camps for that fortnight then. So we think that would be really good for everybody.
Brilliant. So could you tell me a little bit about this Frankie Stennett then? Stennett. Oh, God, I'm not.
Yeah.
Stennett, yeah.
So Frankie's a local Manx lad. He's been riding for a little while now. Started on mini motos and progressed, did a few Thunder Sports, and has kind of worked his way up the classes. So he's now running on 600s, and I think he was on a lightweight as well last year in various things. He's steadily progressed, and that's what we were looking for. We're looking for somebody that wants that progression, but that accepts that they've still got, things to learn, and that are happy to take on that advice and guidance. He's ridden quite a few Irish roads in this last year. And was hoping to get in the Manx this year, but was just short on his national licence, I believe, because they changed how long you needed to have had it for. So it's that's why he's coming into it next year. So he's been accepted on the newcomer weekend. Obviously, everybody's got to wait to see if their entries are accepted, but we just like the way that, he goes about himself. The way he rides, he's done really well. He had a win at Killer Lane. He did well at the Southern. So yeah, he's just, just hopefully be able to give him that bit of a leg up, and get him moving a little bit further forward in his career.
Brilliant. And other than the events at the Isle of Man, are you looking to do any other racing for the rest of the season?
Yeah, so now we've got John and obviously in Contango on board with us, which is brilliant. You can do your little jingle. I heard you making your jingle last week. You can do that if you want.
We've improved it for this.
Have
No,
you?
we haven't. No, don't listen to him, right? He's full of shite. Don't be listening to him.
I'm not going to sing it. I was waiting for you to, I thought that was
No,
you,
no,
your lead-in lads there, really.
I've came up with a bit of a Brexit analogy of how to remember the sponsor. Okay,
Amazing.
so you're either in or out. So you're in.
Yeah.
And then, the people that voted to leave but we're still in think that it's a bit of a con. So we've got in,
Right.
and then when we do leave. What's Nigel Farage going to be drinking? Well, he's going to have a can of tango. So in contango.
Because that proper makes sense, doesn't it? I can see why you've come up with that really easily, yeah.
And there's a reason we're not going to do it, so there you go.
Yeah, there you go, mate. Yeah, you stick to what you did last time. It was much better.
So before we wrap things up, I'm just interested to know, overall, all the years that you've been involved with the team, what's been your standout favourite moment?
Oh, dear. I don't know, because I've not really been that. As I say, I only came in kind of part way through. I think for me, it's just every year is different, which is why I love it so much. I love the people. I love, the supporters that we get. I think all the lads that have ridden the team, regardless of what year or what they've gone on to do, they've all given it everything and they've done their best. So I've not really got one thing that I think, oh my God, that was amazing. I think for me, obviously, Dan did really well with the team and then went on to do other things. And we were obviously close to Dan, so that was important for me and Tomo and everybody. I think, Alan was just a legend, and we miss him every day. He was probably the most fun time in my time at the team that we've ever had. So I'll always hold that really close. That was really good.
Sorry, I think we're having a technical glitch there. No. We very much heard that, and I couldn't agree more. Obviously, Alan and Dan. I didn't know them. Again, I knew them well enough to go, hello, lads. And obviously, for the small bit of time that I knew them, they were borderline infectious, if you know what I mean. It was very much you just want to go speak to them, and obviously to have them a part of your team must have been very, very special. And I can hear that in your voice, and it's really nice.
I think, for all of the lads, the idea is, like I said, we just want to help them move on, really. It's not about having them there for years and years and years and just, being part of the furniture, and they accept that. And, I think all of them, if you ask any of the lads that are around that have been with us, hopefully we've given them what they needed, we've given them that stability and that support. And hopefully the lads that will come to us next year, will feel the same. We're just really grateful of all the people that come along and support us. You mentioned about other events. We are hoping to go to Scarborough meetings next year as well, and we'll be at the Southern 100. So kind of branching out a bit, thanks to John. So we'll definitely be around a lot more. So that's going to be brilliant for everybody.
Yeah, brilliant. And just before we wrap things up, people who are listening, what's the best way they can get in touch with the team or find out a bit more in terms of like social media, website, etc.? Yeah,
so the website's up and running, thanks to John and his whizziness that he sorted out for me this week, because I've got no clue when it comes to websites. So you can just go on www.thepeoplesbike.com. All the details on sponsorship or donating are on there. There's also a chance to subscribe to our new newsletter when I've written it, so that'll be fine. And then you can we're quite active, obviously, on Facebook with the group, so it's just the People's Bike. So if anybody wants to join, just send that through, and I'll accept them. And then we'll go from there, where you can just drop me a message. All the email details are on the website.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It's been really interesting to get another angle on the sport, and obviously it's a team that's well known in the paddock, but it's ran very differently to most teams. So thanks so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having us on. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, have a lovely Christmas and all the best for 2020.
Thanks a lot, chaps.
Take care. Cheers.
See you later. Bye.
Check the money. So we're back in the room, and great interview with Janice. Lovely lady. sorry to change the catchphrase, but what
Well, you're right though, aren't
what
you?
a lovely lady, and really well spoken, and
Yeah, she's put us to shame. You see, like, straight
an
off the
absolute
cuff.
professional,
That's
wasn't
it, off the cuff. I just thought I need some cheddar for the team right now. Hand it over.
I tell you what, fantastic initiative that to split the fairing into little squares. There was a similar thing Taylor Mackenzie did a few years ago. He might still even do it now, where he split his helmet up into like loads of tiny little. They were about maybe 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre or something of that size, 2 centimetres maybe, and you could buy like a little patch, so you could put like a selfie on or something like that, and it was a great way to be involved for a relatively small amount of money, but to feel like a sponsor and to get some special sort of privileges. So it's
Obviously, it's a team that's been going over 11 years, like she was saying, and it's obviously a great way to get involved. And just please check them out on all the social media links. And
have you ever tried anything like that yourself? With like how do you go about dishing out your sponsorship for your helmet?
Well, if someone's giving me £1 million, we'll chat. Oh, but no, it's mad. Obviously, time is ticking on, and we're going to have to go straight into our next interview.
Spot on. So we've got Davey Todd lined up over in California, man.
What are you doing? Are you having a mild seizure tonight or something? There's some weird things coming out of you. God, that sounds even worse. This is an audible show, and now I'm just going, there's things coming out of you, Chrissy. Jesus.
And speaking of being audible, this show is we've had a bit of a failure on the GoPro tonight, so unfortunately this one will not be going out on YouTube.
It's full of his sex tapes, ladies and gentlemen.
For some reason I can't get it on, so I've tried charging both batteries and it's not working, so we're gonna have to invest in new cameras. On that topic, if anyone's if anyone deals in little cameras that we can maybe use for a podcast, please drop us a message.
The lens needs to be wipe awayable.
We're looking to invest in the podcast, grow our YouTube channel, so that's kind of our next step. So if anyone's got any ideas in that sort of
ballpark,
in that sort of area, get in touch. But without further ado, over to our friends at the other side of the world, and over to Mr. Davey Todd, DT, and his friend Brad Ward. So we're joined from across in the US of I.
What was that?
With our first returnee on the podcast, and so we've got Davey Todd over on the Skype line. Can you hear us okay there?
Yeah, I hear you spot on, mate.
Spot on, mate. And I hear you're joined by a friend over there, a man from York, Brad Ward, who's racing over in the MotoAmerica Superstock Championship. Is that right?
Yep, correct, mate. Yeah.
Spot on. And obviously, like I said, the first returnee of the podcast, and the last podcast we did, we kind of got from like how you got into racing and your sort of story to that point. And then shortly after that, you went on to take your first international road racing win was it a win at the Northwest 200 or a podium?
Yes.
I can't remember. Yeah, win.
Yeah, a win in Supersport.
And obviously, like a mega result for your second year road racing. So let's start there. And the weather wasn't great, but talk us through the Northwest 200.
Yeah, so basically, like as Dom will know really well, like the Northwest was pretty grim weather-wise. Like I think as per usual, but I think it was even worse than usual, to be fair. And we had a pretty wet week. I think the racing on the first day was not bad.
Yeah, have you noticed how professional Davey Todd's got since our last interview? He used the word grim. Yeah, this is chasing the racing sun. Just say it how it is. It was shite. The weather was disgusting, young'un. It was absolutely disgusting. So anyway, like you said, the weather was absolutely it was just blowing a hoolie. It was typical Northwest weather, to be fair. But obviously, in that Supersport race, that you're going to go into detail a bit more, you played the conditions like every other rider.
Yeah, it is the same for everybody, so that's my mindset on it. But to be fair, the wet conditions have always been a strong point for me, and I was sort of eager to get going and get in the mix with the other guys. And the race got stopped and started a few times, a few incidents. I think Seeley's bike blew up and a couple of crashes or whatever, and pure carnage basically. So Finally got out in the race, and it was a mega battle from like start to finish, basically, with Derek McGee and Connor Cummins, and I think Paul Jordan was in the back end of the group for a bit, and like top notch racing. One of those ones that you just enjoy every second of it. No, obviously you go in to win, but it's so much fun being in the mix of a battle and you're going back and forward with guys the whole time. It's mega fun, and then to come out of it winning it and get my first international win was just was nuts, to be honest.
Because was that your second time there, or your third time at the Northwest?
Yeah, my second time there.
Second time there, obviously being very early on in the season. Now, what was your immediate reaction after that? If you know what I mean, it's like, mint, I've won one now. Did you relax? Relax is not a term you can use in road racing or racing in general. But did you think, well, look, we've done that now? How did
monkey off the back?
Got the monkey off the back situation? Aye. So how did that adapt your emotional state? Oh God, that's a good word for the night, isn't it?
Yeah, it was surreal for me, the experience of winning. But then, obviously, after that, and the conditions didn't change, so we weren't experiencing anything other than wet, cold, shite weather. I knew I was, in for good rides on the big bikes as well. And I don't want to be get in trouble really, but basically the team were really concerned about wrecking the superbike for the TT, so they wouldn't let me go out in the superbike race. And after such a massive high of winning my first international, I knew I would be in the mix on the superbike too. And I wasn't allowed to go out in it, so I was mega almost depressed then after that.
Did you get out on a bike at all, or were you just pulled from the race? Did they not let you out in the stocker? Or
no, so they pulled us out the race completely. They weren't keen on me riding the stocker either. Finally got out, managed to get out on the stocker. Had a mint race in that, battling for second the whole time. Hillier had cleared off like it was that race. He disappeared 3 miles in front of everybody, and showing us all up basically. But then had a great battle with Richard Cooper, Glenn Irwin, and Dean Harrison. And that was mixed conditions. It was wet and it was started to dry up, and then the last couple of laps it rained again. So there was a big difference in what tires people were on and stuff like that, and another carnage race basically, but super exciting, super fun, and ended up in third in that race. So to get another podium was mega. And then the last superbike race I was going to get out on they agreed to let me ride the stocker in the final one, but then obviously the race got stopped, didn't it? It got pulled out. So
spot on. And obviously then over to the TT, and it was a big year for you in terms of the teams. Obviously after a really successful first year at the TT, to return with your Paget, Norton, Pens. Obviously the weather was absolutely shite, but talk us through how the TT fortnight went for you.
Yeah, so like you say, the weather was shite, so practice, a big part of the TT is always getting so many laps in practice and getting yourself dialed in, because it's been a year since you've been there. Obviously, you get the classic TT a bit less than a year ago, but riding completely different bikes, so you're a bit rusty, when you turn up. So as many laps as you can get, the better. But with all the terrible weather, I think we barely had any laps, and then the first couple of races were postponed and knocked back a couple of days. And the first race day or something, I think I ended up doing 11 laps in one day, and it absolutely killed me. I was completely knackered. So
especially with a lad of obviously the amount of bike experience that you've got, that's saying a hell of a lot, because your fitness must be quite frankly athletic ability. You know what I mean? As far as bike racing is concerned.
Yeah, I think compared to a lot of the guys out there, I'd say definitely in the top end of guys fitness wise. So, you know, you can imagine how everybody else feels, or everybody out there felt after doing that sort of amount of laps, as most guys are running a couple of classes and, you know, trying to squeeze in the laps where they can before the weather sets in. So
on our last podcast, Dom was saying that it's a piece of piss compared to a day graft up in the forest carrying a chainsaw for 8 hours.
And I'm still saying
that's
that.
all he has to bloody do. All he has to do is ride and train. He don't do out for a living. He has to ride bike.
yeah, it's I'm fortunate enough that I've got plenty of time to get some extra laps in on the bike, and you know, Dom's got his hands full with a chainsaw. So, but I bet that's training in itself. Like,
yeah,
and if I come across a tree, then I'm all right. You know what I mean? Bar that, it doesn't help me at all.
and obviously, you know, second crack at it with the TT. Like I said, the weather was shit, but you still managed an unbelievably impressive lap time in the senior. Were you happy with your sort of pace and your position?
yeah, I was over the moon to do I obviously wanted to go there in my second year, and you try not to have any goals in mind because you don't want to be pushing or doing anything stupid there. But I wanted that 130 lap, really. You know, that, you know, it's the whole special thing about the TT being in that 130 club, and, you know, I was desperate to get that 130 lap. And then after the terrible practice week we'd had, I took that out of my mind. I thought, you know what, it's just not going to be possible. We've had no laps. It's not happening. And so then to do 130 on my first lap of the senior, and frankly, when I came in after the senior, I wasn't even thinking about my position or whatever. But the team said, "Oh, you've done a 130. You've done a 130," and obviously they hadn't looked as I'd come across the line on the last lap. And then we got back to the truck or something, and they looked again, and they went, "Oh, it's not a 130. You did a 131.5 on the last lap." You know, which you know how tough that is on the you know, the sixth lapper. It's brutal. Like not just physically, but mentally, and your head's like, you know, absolutely melted basically after 6 laps of that concentration. And yeah, I was just over the moon with that lap time. But to get 6th position, I missed out on that 5th by like 2 seconds or something, 2.5 seconds on Hillier, and I lost I think like 30 seconds or something, 20-30 seconds in my pit stop. So it was, you know, it was 9 or 5th for us there, but, you know, it was more about the lap time for me and learning more and feeling better within myself.
There we. Oh, by that. Yeah, well, obviously doing a 130 round there is absolutely just mind-blowingly brilliant. You know, so obviously after doing your 131, did that over trump your IRRC championship win? Did that, or your BMW? You just keep winning, son, at the moment. You know, it's obviously your BMW trophy win. You know, your I can't even get that right, man. IRRC championship win. What was your favourite outstanding moment of this year?
Yeah, completely. The TT for any racer that's the part of the year, the TT is the main thing. It's the biggest thing. And don't get me wrong, the IRC is cool to win that and everything, but for me, it's a bigger thing to progress and move forward with a proper job. Let's call it, you know, with the TT. And, you know, the first win at the Northwest was special, but TT's where you really want to do well, and that's got to be my highlight.
Mm-hmm. And looking back on the TT with obviously riding for the Norton in the Super Twin class, I know the bike wasn't fully developed before the TT itself, and you know the team had a lot of teething issues. How did you find riding it, and what do you think the potential is for the future with that bike?
So I think that bike really does have a lot of potential. All of us, me, John and Hickey, who were riding that twin, we all had 1 day each on the bike before turning up at the TT, which in the bigger scheme of things is like zero development whatsoever. It's literally just getting to grips with the feel of the bike. And, the bike that only just finally got off the production line just before the TT, and that's when we all squeezed in a lap a day. And, to do that and be not in, it was, knocking around the door of the top 10, but to do that on a bike that's literally just come out the showroom, the first year of its development, everything is, I think it's pretty good. So there were just so many small teething issues with it that can be sorted relatively easily, and it'll go a lot better. So I think there's potential there with it, to be honest.
Well, you would have seen the news that Smith's Racing have taken the bike on. What those small teething issues, do you think like Smith's having more of a privateer feel to it? Do you really think they could knuckle that down in big steps? Like you're saying, we're talking a top 10 capable, really, with the time frame, do you think they've got the capability of being on the podium?
I don't know.
There's a question. There's a question.
To say a podium, I'm not sure. They're definitely capable of doing the job. A team that is so experienced in racing, I think that's where Norton maybe fell down a little bit, where they don't have the race experience like a team like Smiths do. They've got bike experience and building bikes for the road and what have you, but to have a bike built and ready to race and ready for the likes of the TT or something, you can only get with a lot of experience. And I think Smith's a good team to do that.
And obviously we can't really, mention the TT without making reference to the passing of a really good friend and obviously teammate, Daley Matheson. Incredibly difficult fortnight for obviously yourself, the full team and the family and stuff. And then to be able to ride his bike in the Zero race as in tribute to him, that must have been a special moment of the season.
Yeah, it really was. It was, it was really hard to deal with. On top of everything at the TT, that was we'd become such good friends. We were training together, doing everything together. Riding, traveling together. We were riding for the same team. It was hard to sort of deal with that and try and concentrate on the racing at the same time. But to be asked to ride his bike in the Zero race as well, and I knew how passionate he was about that Zero bike. He developed it for a lot of years with that team, and he said he'd always say to me how much of that was his big chance to win a TT was on that Zero bike, and he was right. From me getting to ride it, and I was terrified, to be honest, because I've never rode one before, and we didn't get any practice laps on it either. So it was literally going down Bray Hill was the first time I sat on the thing for in my life and racing it. So that was a bit crazy. And then I was actually really sad. It ended up breaking down. I say breaking down. I broke it. I sumped it out somewhere, and it broke a water cooler off the bottom, and it basically melted. It overheated and melted all the battery, and I was gutted when I broke down at the bungalow on the mountain, and just devastated. I couldn't finish the lap for Daly more than anything, and then the more I thought about it, I thought he'll just be up there laughing at me and taking the piss as he would, saying he's still faster than me. So.
Wait, the thing is, mate, you didn't go down there to parade, and he would want you to race, and that's exactly what you did for him. So, fair play to you, mate. Absolutely fair play to you.
And obviously, then looking ahead to next year, a massive opportunity, signing for a big factory team, and
Hyundai, innit? Hyundai? Am I saying that right?
I know
Hyundai
that.
cars or something.
I know that it's been an ambition of yours for a while as well to come back to the BSB and be involved in the BSB to sort of lift the game. The whole Honda crack, has it been on the cards for a while? And obviously, I presume you'll be really pleased. And what are your thoughts going into the 2020 season?
Yeah, it's the perfect opportunity for me. I think it's stuff people dream about their whole life, riding for like factory teams, and I think especially factory Honda. It's just that it's special. So it's really cool. It's exactly what I wanted to do. Be back at BSB as well as the big international. Still getting to race the TT in the Northwest, and all with the same team, with the same bikes, with the same guys. It's the perfect situation for me.
Are you doing the full season of BSB as well, like the full stock series?
Yeah,
Is that the plan?
Full season, and I know people like to say that it's good for lifting your game at the TT, which it is. I'm not going there for that reason. I want to go there still to be competitive. When I left, when I got messed about by a team a few years ago, and I ended up going to the roads. I didn't want to leave BSB then. It was always a thing for me that I wanted to be there and I wanted to be back, and never like fell out of love with it as such or anything. Just I've just been working on my way to get back, and now I'm in the perfect situation where I can sort of get the best of both worlds and do it all. And all that great team. And
no, sorry, no, just a quick question off the cuff here. It's a case of, you're saying you're with the wrong team at that particular moment. Now, for example, if you got the ride that you wanted in BSB, would you have held off on the TT for a couple more years, for example? Because obviously that situation guided you into the TT at that point. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, because obviously you can tell the way you ride the place, and you can always tell that you always wanted to come to the TT, and you're doing an awesome job at it. But just in hypothetical terms, if it wasn't for that shit team, well, shit, I'm using the word shit. You're not. You know what I mean? If that falling out with that team,
it was like you're right.
There we are. So, would you have particularly held off for a couple more years, for example? Just curious.
I honestly don't know. I can't say the situation that as it was. I'd always thought it was cool, but I'd never even gone to the TT, and it was when I got messed about that year that I had no ride, and when I had no ride and no money to pay for one or go riding myself, I managed to like cadge my way over to the TT and just to spectate and watch. I thought it'd be a really good experience. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while, to go over and watch. And when I did that, I like fell in love with it then, and I knew then that that's what I wanted to do, Mm-hmm. So should I still be doing BSB at the time? I might have not gone over to the TT to watch and wanted to do it so much. So
yeah, it's one of those things you can only join the dots backwards. Do you know what I mean? Like you sometimes don't know what's going to happen in the future, but you can always join the dots backwards. And obviously the rest being history. But I'm just interested in, you're looking ahead to next year, 2020 season, and let's just talk about the roads for now. What are your goals looking ahead to the Northwest, the TT, and we've got a Patreon page running now, and so we've had a few questions sent in, and one of the questions was from Shane Rally, and he said, what's your expectations for this year? Do you feel like the Honda has what it takes to hunt down Hickman and Harrison for the wins at the TT?
Well, it surely looks like it does. That new bike looks incredible. It looks like a MotoGP bike, and I've not had a chance to ride it yet, but we'll hopefully get out on that soon in the new year. And believe me, I can't wait to get on it, because it just looks. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it looks incredible. So, and on paper too, it looks. The figures and everything are all good, but it's a different thing when you get on it. So fingers crossed.
Because you were telling me over in Macau that you're actually only getting to ride the road going bike. You're not even getting on your race bike, are you? You're just going straight to a off the line job.
Yeah, we're gonna ride the standard bike first of all, the road going bike, just to get the feel of it right at the start of the year, and then the team will be given some time to get the bikes built, and we'll then get to test our proper race bikes and everything, and plenty of time on the bikes and everything. Should everything go run smoothly as I hope it will, and we'll be ready for the season ahead.
And obviously, speaking of ready, you've been out in California training with a proper racer called Brad Ward. Are you still there, son, or have you fallen asleep?
I'm asleep, mate.
Good lad. Good lad. So, my main question is, Brad, how the hell did a lad from York end up in California, son?
I've been racing motocross out here for a while. Used to race in the European Championships, and that's how I originally knew Davey back in the day when I used to do a little bit of motocrossing as a kid as well. Obviously, sort of lost. We were never close friends back when we were racing motocross.
We're still not that close now.
He was always a bit of a goon. Do you know what I'm saying? Always a bit of a goon, so I never really used to speak to him.
But Davey was just saying he's only staying with you because he would have had to pay for a hotel, so he needed somewhere.
He's getting an invoice when he goes home.
Yeah, Brad, you had no idea he was riding for Honda, did you? He'd be looking at him now going, yeah, you're going to start paying, son. Hand in your pocket.
He's buying drinks on a night, so I can't complain.
Good lad.
I used to come over a couple of times a year doing a bit of training out here. It's similar to what Davey's doing over here now. And then just got the opportunity when I left school at 16, 17 to make the move over here with my dad. He bought a bike shop out here, a little motorcycle shop down near San Diego, and come over here to chase my dreams of doing outdoors and supercross. That quickly went to shit. It's so brutal, the motocross job, getting injured all the time and constantly being on the back foot trying to get back to fitness.
The idea is not to fall off, but he couldn't seem to grasp that,
So hold on. So he's progressively thought, let's go into a safer version of motorcycle racing. Let's get in a super bike at AMA level. That's a brilliantly safe decision. That I'm over the moon with that one.
He crashes that all the time as well.
So yeah, because it was AMA, but now is it MotoAmerica or something?
Yeah, it's obviously the governing body is still AMA, but MotoAmerica is a series. But I'd never ridden a street bike before in my life. Obviously, always motocross and supercross. But my granddad used to race the TT back in the 60s. He was racing over in the Isle of Man for 15, 20 years. My great uncle Steve Ward used to ride for Factory Honda back in the day, and when Dunlop were riding on the Factory Honda and what have you. So we've always raced, but I just never got into road racing because obviously, as you guys know, the cost of going racing's out of a lot of people's reach. So I was always motocrossing. And then after all the injuries over here, I still was, only young, 19, 20-year-old and still eager to be racing or riding something. So we decided to get an R6 and have a go at a few track days, and then started going going all right straight from the bat, really. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fantastic. And does that MotoAmerica series, does that run right across the USA?
Yeah, it's nationwide. So
I bet that's a lot of
travel.
I bet. What's the furthest for you then?
So obviously we're down in California now, but the furthest race away is probably nearly halfway home. It's in New York. So it's 2,500, 3,000 miles to the race, and then from there back to sunny Yorkshire is only 3,000 miles further. So it's nearly halfway home.
And what's the sort of general scene, like the racing scene, like out there? Is it competitive? Is it big crowds there? Is it well followed? Or you hear different stories, but it's not really well followed over in the UK.
The problem is with any sort of motorsport in America, it's so vast. It's so difficult. Like in British Superbike, it's easy for true diehard fans to get to every single event and go and watch. Whereas over here, you've got, so much travel involved with getting from race to race, and you've got so many other options over here. There's football and baseball and so many other sports for people to follow. Motorcycle racing doesn't really have a great following. Off-road stuff, yeah, but the circuit racing, not so much.
They're into that weird. They're into that weird shit where the cars just go around in circles. Is it IndyCar racing or something?
NASCAR.
I really don't get it. Me, like it's shite.
While watching right.
It is. It's wanker. Yeah. But yeah. While we're on to the America, and as it's quite fitting with it being election day over here, are you Trump or Bernie Sanders?
Trump, definitely. Trump. Make America great again. I'm saying that until I get back. I have to come back for my visa renewal in January. So if you don't let me back in, I'll be kicking off.
Fair enough. And just quickly back to Davey. Obviously, we talked about the road scene briefly there, and you're going to be teammates with Glenn Irwin, who's going to be making his TT debut. Obviously, with you been there, done that like quite recently, and I'm sure you'll be a good help to Glenn. What are your sort of expectations of Glenn first year at the TT? Would you be surprised if he fastest newcomer, or like what are your thoughts?
It'll depend a lot on the weather. Like if you have a good week and a good practice week and like a ton of laps and stuff like that, I think Glenn's really switched on to the fact that, he needs to do a lot of learning, and plenty of laps in the car he's done and been over to the island a few times. And, he's putting the work in what you need to do to go over there and be fast. So he seems to be doing the right thing, and he knows what he's doing, and he keeps asking for help, but he says he can't afford it when I tell him the price. But
fair enough. And
I know he'll come back.
Yeah. And obviously you're going to be doing the British Superstock Championship as well in the same championship as me. Obviously back at BSB. And you're going to be alongside Tom Neve, fantastic teammate to have. I was actually teammates with Tim, Tom's twin brother, this year. So what's your sort of expectations for the Superstock side of the job? Like what would you class as a good season?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like yourself better than anybody, like how competitive that championship is now, and there's so many people going to it. It's a packed out grid, and everybody in it is crazily fast, and there's nothing between anybody. And there's guys who should be in Superbike who can't get a ride maybe or whatever, and then up and coming guys in the same breath. And it's super competitive, but I still want to be challenged at the front like as anybody does. But after a few years out, I honestly don't know where I'm going to be. I'm going to try my best to put the work in and doing everything I can to be running at the front and
obviously with
battling with you.
Yeah, with it being a new bike as well, obviously there's a development stage, so there's nobody's. I guess you've kind of got that in your advantage that nobody's kind of expecting too much straight away from the bike. As you see with like any new bike, it usually takes a good 6 months to a year to get the bike dialed in properly. But like I said, obviously you've got a cracking teammate there and Tom, very experienced on the bike, and I know that the Superstock side of the garage works really closely with the Superbike, so you'll have like the best support possible for you to help you through that. So yeah, it'll be great to see you back in the championship. Another lad from somewhere close to in the northeast, but somewhere close to me, because there's only me and Barry Teasdale. I think at the moment we're a little bit lonely up there in the northeast. Before we go, have you got any merchandise? Well, I know you've got merchandise. Where's the best place for people to find it?
So on the 151's Worn by Winners website is my new merch that's just come out, and you should buy it. It's great. It's awesome. Really. Top quality stuff and super cheap. Everything. It's amazing, basically.
So, and are you Are you staying over in the US of A over Christmas time, or are you like, what's your plans for the off season?
Yeah, basically, I'm gonna try and stay here for as long as possible, as long as Bradley doesn't put up the rent. So, I'm not looking forward to coming home already. I've not been here long, but not looking forward to coming back to the cold. I'm already used to the
No,
nice
mate, you're
weather.
missing out here. You're missing out here. It's like 30 degrees, sunshine today.
What a load of shite. In your classroom it is.
It is. It's absolutely dire over here at the moment. Like Dom's just been up in Scotland today, and it was snowing.
Nah, that's just not for me, mate. To be honest, I might not come back. I'll wait and see. But yeah,
not about that life.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it's been absolutely great having Brad on. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And obviously, Davey, it's always good to have your input as well. But lads, seriously, thank you very much for your time. Good luck for next season, the pair of you. And looking forward to getting you back on the show some point.
I have a great Christmas, and see you probably pre-season testing sometime in like February, March or something. And all the best.
I'll be seeing you boys. I'm coming back home in probably for the TT. Actually, I'll be coming over to polish Davey's helmet. I would have thought for the fortnight. Yeah, so I'll be over there for a couple of weeks, and no doubt I'll bump into you. We can go out for a couple of jars.
Oh, spot on.
Sweet.
Spot on.
Sweet.
Oh, all the best, and take care. See you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Guys, see you. Bye. So we're back in the room. Great interview with Davey. Obviously, he's had a fantastic season this year, winning was that a world championship, that international road racing, the IRRC International Road Racing Championship? I think it is.
I don't think it's a world championship. I think it's a separate championship altogether. But he did win the BMW Road Racers Trophy,
right?
Because all those rounds included the TT, the Northwest, the Ulster, as well as all the IRRC. I struggle with that one, mate.
I'm not sure if they changed the prize money this year, but the year before, when I was on the BMW, if you race in a BMW, you get entered into the racing
trophy
series, yeah. And the winner of that, I think, was it not like €30,000 or something?
That's some serious cheddar. The boys making the cheddar, boy. The boys making the. Well, they can afford to be in California. Go around the place, living the dream. That.
But as we were talking, we sort of touched on the whole Norton situation. Obviously, he rode the super light at this year's TT. Now, I've heard lots of rumours recently that things aren't looking too good for Norton. There was a thing to do with the shares.
They were publicising about that. People obviously withdrawing their. Obviously, what was it? Obviously, shares in the company. They were withdrawing themselves, so they were re-advertising it, try and get back involved. And obviously, there was a couple of letters bombing around the internet from Her Majesty's Inland Revenue. Now, do not get this wrong. The Inland Revenue do not hand out letters willy-nilly. There's plenty of warnings, plenty of early shots. To get a letter, you're in deep shit. But obviously, you know what it's like on the rumour mill, don't you? You know, one thing happens at one end of the paddock and it totally changes on the other.
So what exactly is the crack with Smith's Racing taking the super light off Norton and then running it as a their sort of? So
Smith's Racing, according to the TT article, they're taking the way it's advertised is that Smith's Racing, still a privateer team, are taking over from the Norton side of it. Now that's a very interesting concept, because if Stewart from Norton, obviously the Norton brand, give free rein into development. Now, Hickman's team, they are far from a pack of mugs. You know what I mean? They built that Triumph. They've properly got it up to a huge spec. For crying out loud, they're mopping up in every road race series, and they're in the showdown at BSB. They know what it takes to make a winning bike. Now, if they can iron out any faults with the bikes, either like Davey was saying, like minor details or even big ones. For example, if they can piggyback the Norton brand, they can do what they want.
Yeah, and
they are making their own motorcycle. If they want to change the cylinder heads, they can't. Now, I'm just speculating. Obviously, they've got guidelines within the regs, but Patton, they've built their own frame and chassis and just put a license plate on it. They've actually built a race bike against shopping trolleys that the Kawasaki ER6s are like.
And yeah, exactly like you said, like a few minor changes and minor changes such as an extra 20 horsepower and
well, they could change, but everything could change on them. You know what I mean? The cylinder head designs, absolutely, they could go to absolute balls deep on this and really build something. Now, don't get me wrong, like Hickman, did you see the footage on the old Twitter? Him and Jamie Coward
I don't
battling
think I've seen
round.
that one, no.
Well, Jamie had to start from 15th and just reeled him in. Absolutely reeled him in. Now, the amount they learned off each other there. Now, Jamie's bike did have the edge on Hickman's at the top end. You know, you can just see Jamie
top end
reeling in.
where it was at.
Yeah, but obviously it was just Jamie had to build a fair bit of momentum up to actually slingshot him through the corners.
Right.
It's actually, like, check it out. It's on their TT website, obviously on all social medias, but it's really good footage.
Yeah, because did you not start near Hickman or did you not see any of the Nortons in the twin race when you were out on the counting bike?
Two of them because I broke down.
So were they already broken down when you passed
Yeah,
them?
so I was seeded last year at 20 flat, so
Yeah.
it was like 600 superbike stock and the counting machine. So yeah, I didn't see any of them, but you know, for the like Davey was saying, to turn that bike round so quickly and actually get it on the grid and to get a finish in the top 10 is still a huge achievement. But they can build what they want.
And any more news on the McGuinness situation? Obviously, he's still contracted with Norton, but
Yeah, and he's very open about that. Have you noticed? You know, he's very like, you know, I'm not turning anything down. And I tell you who did. I'm going off the TT website here, but even Hillier was quoted. Now, I haven't read the article fully because I work for a living and I haven't got time to read rubbish. No, even he was saying, look, you know, it would take a lot to get me away from Bournemouth. Now, this is Mr. Loyalty. You know, he doesn't fix something that's not broke.
why would you?
Exactly, why would you? So, you know, for Hillier to actually essentially put the feelers out for a top podium man, the man can deliver podiums in Supersport. He's won a TT lightweight. And, you know, Superbike and Superstock, he's a podium man, a consistent podium man. So for him to put the feelers out, and John putting the feelers out, you're thinking, there's not that many secured, really, you know, as far as guaranteed rides. But you're thinking, what's going on? But as far as, like, John's concerned, he's very, very open again. Well, I'm still under contract, but, and you but all the time, and thinking, what's going on, John? Come on.
And on the last podcast, we had a bit crack about Dean Harrison's set up a podcast.
Have you listened to it?
Yeah, I had a little for you.
Nah,
You don't listen to podcasts.
I've not listened to one podcast, son. All I hear is chainsaws. That's I've got a hum on the drum, young.
Well, you said you've got your ear defenders are wired up to a radio.
Mariah Carey, just doing me head in.
But yeah, I've heard mixed reviews. I had a little listen last week, and it was just kind of like an intro podcast, so they didn't really get into anything. But
everyone's got to start somewhere, haven't
exactly.
they?
And started off once they get a structure, and I think maybe get some guests on and stuff. I'm sure. Like obviously, Dean's an extremely likable person. He's very charismatic
And very
he's funny,
intelligent as well.
Yeah.
You know, his bike knowledge is phenomenal. You know, he really knows how to make. He can obviously ride a bike very well, and he obviously knows a lot about them.
So yeah, looking forward to a few more of them coming up soon. And yeah, I think that's about it for us.
No, it's not.
What
You
about
know,
the
obviously on our last episode,
Yeah.
we talked about who do you spend a day with.
Yes.
Now, I think we're down a 50-50 split. I think 50% of people were taking the piss and the other side were in agreement. Liz Hurley was my first crush, without a doubt. Now, I've been scrolling through the Twitter ever since you mentioned to me. Some bloke tweeted in saying, one of our great listeners said, I live next door to Liz Hurley.
That's right. So
Liz Hurley.
small world, eh?
It's a small world. Now, right, whoever you are, please retweet or please get back in touch, because what I want you to do, and I have no shame whatsoever. I wear my heart on my sleeve and I say it how it is. So what I want you to do is jump your borderline between each property and steal me a pair of knickers. Right? I will knock off my first place Isle of Man Mountain Course trophy to hang up Liz Hurley's knickers on my trophy cabinet. Without a doubt, young'un. Right. So, I'm not condoning theft, but if they drop the floor, it belongs to England. And if it's on the floor, pick them up and have them. So anyway, that's my pervy little notice. Chrissy, what about you? What you got planned for the coming week?
This week, so we've got the Gilberts up this weekend, so that's my my teammate from a few years ago. They're coming up from down south, so looking forward to spending some time showing them around Newcastle and stuff. Busy with just getting the podcast sorted over the weekend, and then back to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's just kind of the run until Christmas. I think we're organising a podcast for next week, so aiming to get another one out next week. So we'll get
have to get an interview with the Gilbert.
We'll get an interview. Yep, we'll get an interview sorted for that one.
And if there's any sponsors that want to come on board for the next episode, please get in touch via the Facebook or the Twitter.
That's it. And big thanks to our patrons as well. So great
patrons.
Great to see the numbers going on that. And I really hope the people that have signed up are enjoying having a little bit of sort of behind the scenes access. We're also, for the top tier, which is $10 a month, so I think it's about £7, they get early access to the podcast, so I post them on like a full day before everyone else gets them. So a few little perks. So really appreciate the people that have signed up to that. And
awesome.
Obviously, big thanks to Incontango Training for sponsoring the podcast. I hope that you enjoyed my little Brexit analogy with the.
Nope. No, obviously, thank you to our guests, the People's Bike, and thank you to Davey Todd. But I tell you what, we've run out of time. It's been a very heavy episode. But I was down at Tynemouth with the North East Motorcycle Club. I'd like to jump into that a bit more detail next time. Absolutely great. No. But I was speaking to a man called Ken Murray, who's a fantastic photographer. He's always at the North East rounds. Now, he was talking about the Patreon thing. Mm-hmm. Now, his only worry about the Patreon thing is it is an American site.
Yeah.
And initially, it does look worrying. You think, whoa, what's going on? And that was his thing. And I don't really want to put this in because it's American. It does spook you. But the site is fully safe. You know what I mean? So if you do, don't let that spook you. Don't let the Yanks hold you back.
Yeah, that's right. We have actually had a few people tweet us about they want to pay in pounds rather than dollars. But the site is American, so we've set it up so it's what is it, like $2, $5, or $10, the 3 tiers. But that just gets totally translated at the exchange rate, so it works out at like,
and
the
it doesn't
top
cost
one,
any extra.
Yeah, the top one, it works out at like £7, so it get deducted.
You're getting more for your money. There you are. So don't let the American side fool you. So it's obviously all the money goes back into this podcast, and the Americans aren't taking anything away from us, which is great. Oh, Britannia.
Excellent. So yeah, big thanks to all of our sponsors, and we'll be back next week. Thanks everyone, and good night.
Cheers, Chrissy.